Hello there, Aquarius, and welcome to your January 2025 horoscope. Ideally, you want to watch these horoscopes for your ascendant or your rising sign, as it's also known. Secondarily, your moon sign. Of less importance than the other two is the sun sign. If that's all that you know, please feel free to watch the one for your sun sign as well. If you want to know what your ascendant or what your moon sign is, I do have a free chart calculator that works with the calculations that I use. You'll find that at the link above. In addition to that, as you likely know, horoscopes can only go so deep because they're only working with the planets in relevance to your ascendant. So for a full exploration of your horoscope on a deeper level, I highly recommend connecting to one of my astrological services. You can find those at this link. So it's not easy to be the odd one out. It's highly rewarding, though, and it's often quite a lot of fun. But at the same time, the last year and a half or so has likely found you in a position where you're craving deeper connection and craving deeper connection with people who share in a common purpose or a common belief or a common philosophy. And when you're going through that experience and having a hard time, finding that fulfillment that you're seeking, well, it places you in a position where you begin to feel sometimes a little bit insecure. As you likely know, Pluto is transiting your first house, your ascendant. You're really fortunate, and I know that may not feel like it at this particular moment, because Pluto transits can often be pretty intense, but they're very deeply empowering. But not everybody has a Pluto transit of the ascendant. So it's really like a cosmic blessing because it's something that will highly empower you. And really, over the course of the next 15 years, especially, you're likely going to be unraveling deeper and deeper layers of yourself in a rather profound process. So, congratulations. But let's kind of bring it back to the present moment where we find you now, which is you're getting ready to experience a shift of the nodes. That's the north node, which we in Vedic astrology call Rahu, and the south node, which in Vedic astrology we call Ketu, into the second and eighth house axes. There we go. That's a good way to say it. The north node will be shifting into your second house. The south node will be in your eighth house. This is marking a shift for you in terms of interreliability. Now, what do I mean by that? Is it wrong to rely upon other people? No, of course. But occasionally the universe wants to give us a little bit of a cosmic and karmic push, which is a polite way of saying a swift kick in the backside, so that we become a little more responsible for what is going on in our domain. You're likely going to experience just such a kick in the backside to a certain degree. Don't freak out, don't get concerned. It's highly empowering for you. And the initial pain in the butt, like usually doesn't last very long. So towards the beginning of the month, round about the 13th, we've got the sun forming our harmonious alignment with one of your rulers, because in one system of astrology, Uranus is your ruler. In another system of astrology, it's Saturn. So both of those bring some profound insight. So basically, you may find yourself in a situation where you're breaking free of a particular connection, or maybe even wanting to kind of isolate yourself a little bit from the public eye and tune into your own inward journey, whilst you're kind of weeding through all the things that I guess I would say on one level that you don't like about yourself and that don't really make you feel happy and that don't make your life feel secure. So sometimes we need a retreat from the public eye in order to be able to do that. Sometimes we need to show somebody where the door is so that we're able to do the same. And so sometimes that can feel a little bit difficult, but on another level, this is so you begin to form a deeper relationship with yourself. Quite often we become so reliant upon on other people to be there for our support, which isn't saying you're needy by any means whatsoever, but it's just that sometimes we become reliant upon others to give us the support that we need when we're needing to kind of shift more in a direction of going, hey, you know what? I got this. This is me. Even if I don't feel like I've got it, I have to start prioritizing myself and putting myself first because on a certain level, even though it's nice to have other people there to support, on a certain level, those other people are being a little too needy and too demanding on my time. And I need to begin to prioritize myself, my own needs, those things that are important to me, if I'm ever going to stand a chance of being able to break free and establish something that's going to be a little more in alignment with what feels appropriate in my life. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes that can feel overwhelming because we place ourselves in a position where we're having to accept responsibility for things that we never had to accept responsibility for before, right? And sometimes that's a little bit challenging. So that also means owning yourself. Owning yourself. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes some of us are a little bit quirky. Some of us are a little more quirky than others. And some of us are here to do something radically different that goes against the grain, maybe even pushes a few buttons. And when we're kind of beginning to step into that, sometimes we get a little bit of backlash from other people, kind of, saying, ooh, well, pss, 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 pss," right? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Even though on one level you may feel worried about it. Instead, just go, you know what? I am fully and unabashedly myself. I accept responsibility for that. I recognize that I may not be somebody else's, cup of tea or like, cup of coffee, but I'm my own fine wine and I'm going to distill my life in a process you know, that's going to be honored throughout time. And that moment starts now, right? So we've got your ruler Uranus very active this month. And Uranus is presently in a section of the sky that's called Kritika Nakshatra. Kritika, on one level, it's much more vast than what I'm going to tell you next, but it relates to getting to the essence, distilling the truth. Truth is Truth is absolute. We all have our version of the truth that could more be expressed as reality. But as we begin to learn more and more about ourselves, and yes, more and more about our place in the world around us, sometimes we begin to find that certain things and certain situations, and yes, certain people no longer fit into that particular scenario. Sometimes the concept of loss in relation to that can feel, well, a little bit overwhelming, but there's a few different things I want to say to that. If you're wanting to really fly, you can't carry dead weight on your back, and freedom and liberation has a price, right? And that sounds like, completely contradictory because you go, freedom. Well, freedom should be free. And on a certain level, it is. But we create all this baggage that we think we have to have in our lives. And so we go through this process of letting go of that baggage, which is ultimately very liberating, but initially can feel like, well, I don't want to stop carrying that thing, or I don't want to not be responsible for that person, when in actuality, a part of us really needs to, because we need to step more into the realm of more deeply trusting ourselves and trusting our place in the world and what we're actually here to share with the rest of humanity. 2025 seems to be a year where that's becoming redefined. Towards the end of the month, around the 30th, Uranus, one of your rulers, is going to shift to direct motion for the next several months. And it's going to mark a process of all the groundwork that you're doing over the next few weeks in terms of becoming more secure within yourself, more trusting of yourself. It's going to help you to establish stability in the external world in relation to it. And towards the end of the month, we've got an alignment between the sun, which is going to be in a section of the sky that's called Dhanishta Nakshatra. Now, Dhanishta has many other implications, but one of the things that's connected to it is the concept of wealth. And Jupiter is the planet that rules your house of finances. So, what's going to happen is most likely for some of you, you're going to find yourself in a position where this work you develop on or the work that you go into on developing a greater sense of inner security is actually going to have a knock-on effect and maybe pay off financially for you towards the end of the month. Keep your eyes open for that. If you could use a little bit of help understanding more of what these transits are bringing to you and what 2025 holds in store for you, I'm always happy to provide that for you. I have several different levels of astrological service. You can find all of those at the link above. For now, my parting message with you, Aquarius, is things change. Sometimes it may feel to us like we are having to step through a doorway and we're a little bit reluctant in terms of the things that we think we're going to have to do in order to do that or what's going to be asked of us. And sometimes it feels like we're all alone in the world when we do these things. But in actuality, this is something that's going to be groundbreaking for you. It's something that's going to be empowering for you. And don't fear the process because it's something that inside of your heart, on a certain level, you've been asking for all along. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll talk to you next month, Aquarius. Until then, very late happy birthday, and please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.